What is up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in today to Guy Aitchison's Reinventing the Tattoo Network. If you're watching right now, let us know that these streams are working by tagging a friend who loves tattoos or dropping a comment letting us know where you're beaming in from. Before we get started, we want to thank you to everybody joining us on YouTube or Facebook, and a special thanks to those of you who are listening to this podcast. Now, all of these network shows, art jams, interviews, panels can be enjoyed on demand. You can find this at reinventing247.com. While you're there, enter to win a goodie bag with samples from Cheyenne cartridges, raw pigments, and DLize Pro. We also have lots of different educational material located at courses.reinventingthetattoo.com. There you'll find the different BYOB events that happened recently, stuff from BJ Betts, Andre Malcolm, all sorts of amazing content. We also have other drawing groups besides what we have today with Ricardo. Every Sunday at 1 p.m., we have a Reinventing drawing group with Jason Lesser. Artists are encouraged to beam in. Also, every Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern, we have the Tattoo Weekly. And Monday nights at 9 p.m., we have our evening canon class with subscribers, led by Guy Aitchison. On Tuesdays, you can find us right here with Ricardo at 10 a.m. Wednesdays, the Tattoo Now show at noon, as well as noon on Thursdays, the Tattoo Collecting Podcast with Fawn Baker and Jordan Rickus. Also for subscribers, on Thursday mornings, join Kier for Apprentice Fundamentals. We also want to say thank you to all of our sponsors for providing this to you for free. World Tattoo Events at worldtattooevents.com. They're the largest, most comprehensive resource for tattoo events in the world. Thank you to Inkjet Stencils at inkjetstencils.com. Print stencils from your mobile or computer and save your time, your apprentice's hands, all sorts of stuff. Find them at inkjetstencils.com. Also, thank you to rawpigments.co, an ink company that's tapping into the sports with acrylic-free pigments that have been impressing artists across the globe. Thank you to DLize Pro, or known internationally as Dermalize Pro. Protect your art. If you're using Saran Wrap, watch videos of tattooers to see what it's all about at dermalizepro.com. Now, it's not just their wrap that you'll find. You'll find like sun protectant, miracle butter, all sorts of stuff on their website. Of course, Gabe Ripley providing technology for tattooers for the last 25 years. Find him at tattoonow.com. There is his meme mug right now. He must have done the Guardians podcast recently. And of course, the founder and inspiration behind Reinventing the Tattoo, Guy Aitchison. If you go to guyaitchison.com, you can find his Biomech Encyclopedia, DVDs, machines, paintings, and more. We also want to say thank you to our affiliates, Jake from the Fireside Tattoo Network, Amy of the Apprenticeship Diaries, and ecofriendlytattoosupplies.com. Before we get started, we want to let you know that we do welcome positive reviews on the channels and would love for you to follow us on YouTube or any of our social networks. If you're interested in hosting a Reinventing event like what we're doing now or to sponsor our community, just send us an email at management@reinventingthetattoo.com. Now I'm going to close off, hand it over to Ricardo. I will be in the background reading off comments, so if you have any questions about any specific material, let us know. I'll have the browser open to share references, so just let us know what you're looking for. All right, Ricardo, we have been staring at that awesome shot that I grabbed in Texas. We're going to hand it over to you now. How's it going, Ricardo?
It's going pretty good. I appreciate the little nod there with that picture. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, it was so fun being able to hang out with we do all these groups all the time, and it was just super cool to meet in person and kind of see. I think we got along really well, and it was cool to be at a convention and around so many tattooers and see you tattoo and all sorts of stuff, do some art.
Yeah, it was a good time. It was good to meet you and James and Jorge and his wife, Ree, and their lovely little kid. That was awesome. And all the other artists there were great. You're right. And it's been good to be able to get back into civilization and stuff like that with everybody. And like you said, not everybody's just this little screen that we see all the time. You know what I mean? So
exactly.
It was awesome. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
And I think it was fun to have your help with all the tech issues for the Tattoo Weekly. And I'd like to talk to you and maybe Aaron and Jason, all these guys, see if we can do a show together soon.
That would be awesome. Yeah,
I think in Philadelphia would be the next one that we're actually going to be doing for Raw. So If anyone's watching, let us know if you're going to go to Philadelphia. That'd be awesome to get the whole crew together.
Yeah, that'd be great. I know Jason had talked about it. Is that the one coming up in February?
Yeah, it's at the end of February. And if anybody was watching that BYOB event, I can't remember if it was Lars Krutak or who exactly it was. Jason would know. But they had a really
Mm-hmm.
cool historical kind of show in Philadelphia right around the time of the convention. Yeah,
Okay.
Jason pops on. We'll have to ask him about that.
Yeah, if you're listening, Jason, hop on in, man. Well, yeah. So I just wanted to say good morning, Lauren. Again, thank you always for taking the time. And I know you have a busy schedule, so it's always awesome to be able to hang out with you and have you help out with all this stuff. So thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
One of these days, I'm gonna have to sit down and just kind of go, all right, here's 4 extra hours in a 24-hour day, and I'm gonna learn how to like run all this stuff behind the scenes and everything like that. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think that we could each pick each other's brains for a lot of stuff.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, well, so good morning, everybody, whoever's watching, whoever's tuning in. Thank you for joining us. Like Lauren said, it'll always be good to meet you guys in person. But for now, we will be weekly doing these classes and stuff like that. And I've been doing them for a little while now, and it's been really awesome for me to be able to face some of my like fears as far as being in front of a camera, as far as talking about the things that make me who I am, where I've come from, my vision in art, the voice, and the thing that I'm trying to translate to everybody else, my viewers, and the tattoo collectors that I tattoo. So I thought that it'd be fun to share this stuff again. I also had some requests from some of you guys last week to kind of go over this 3-step process, this 3 tonal value process that I do. And it seems to be working out pretty well for me. And it seems like there's a lot of interest from you guys, the viewers and stuff like that. So we'll kind of dive into that again and kind of go from there. But let me share my screen here real quick. For all the Reinventing the Tattoo members, we'll go ahead and say that what I did today was I kind of last minute threw up some notes and a picture for our reference today that we'll be going over. I got a request for some sunflowers, so we'll be doing that. I love sunflowers. I think they're really great. I think this will be a good example on how to kind of start picking out some shapes and everything like that, which is some of the first steps in this process that I do, and how to turn those shapes into forms and everything like that too, which kind of eliminates a lot of the process for sketching. This is more like a painting or a charcoal kind of process, so it tends to work out pretty well for me. But
Hey,
let me see if I
Ricardo,
can share
really
my
quick, I
screen.
have a question. I'm not sure where you're going with what you're presenting today, but this is episode 19. So we've gone
Wow.
through, can you kind of, in a quick nutshell, kind of go through some of the things that you've covered in the last few months?
Oh man, we've covered so much stuff.
We definitely have.
Yeah, I know that it's always been fun to have the view, like everybody join in and get the questions that we do about the things that we're talking about, and it always kind of initiates more conversation on some of the topics that we're covering. But for me, what I've been doing a lot of is kind of like opening myself up, talking about fears and vulnerabilities and things like that, and how I associate those with my art process and art in general. Being, I talked about a lot about being an artist, how difficult that can be, some of the steps that we can take to kind of acknowledge some of the things that we might not even realize that are holding us back. One of them is constructive criticism and being able to interpret that in the right way. And a lot of that has to do with getting over yourself. You know what I mean? So um, it's all a journey. We talk about the journey of becoming a better artist. We talk about the journey about, becoming a better person in the process of wanting to, I don't know, educate ourselves a little bit more. I've also opened up and talked about how I did not know any of these terms or definitions as far as art goes and stuff like that. So it's been pretty awesome to be able to do that and learn in the process too. So we've covered a lot of things about ego and work ethic and inspiration. We've covered a lot of hypothetical questions about like some tattooing, like where is tattooing going? We talked about some machines and stuff here and there. And we've covered so many different things, but one of the best for me has been participating with the people that jump in the classes, and they kind of start to share their insight with us too, and like relate to the vulnerabilities and stuff like that. So I think for me, that's been the best. Um, I think that's about it. I mean, there's a lot of other stuff here and there, but
Yeah, we
generally
have
speaking, I think that's about it.
all the videos, the first 18 before today are on the YouTube channel or in the app. So it doesn't hurt to go back to some of those episodes and kind of review because there's been such a great foundation that you've laid for, taking a different look at, simple shapes, which I've always found super interesting in your presentations. And yeah, we encourage you guys to take a look through the library too. Lots of great stuff in there.
Yeah, thanks, Lauren. I appreciate that. Yeah, definitely check it out. You can go back as far as the first episode, watch us fumble through some things, watch me bomb some introductions and stuff like that. That was pretty fun. This has been just a huge year for me, man. So you guys can kind of watch and see the progression and grow along with us. And I've got a lot of messages on Instagram and through the RIT app and stuff like that, talking about how a lot of people can relate to that. One of the coolest parts so far has been meeting you in person, Lauren, meeting Jason and Bruno and Kier and everybody else that's out there. Not to name too many names or anything like that or specific names, but like being at the Paradise BYOB was awesome because a lot of people came up and said kind of the same things that I was saying, how hard it is to kind of get past that you factor, like as far as feeling like you're just going to muck up some kind of conversation or fanboy over somebody or something like that. But it's awesome. It makes us human. And it was such a cool experience to be able to like share that with people in person, so that's been fucking cool too. Yeah, I think that's about it. Let's see, before I go any further, I just wanted to talk again for the Reinventing the Tattoo members. I put up some images in the community group. For those of you that are watching and you want to participate, feel free to jump in, but it'd be best to kind of go ahead and go through the app and, if you can, sign up for a subscription. It's totally worth it. There's so many beneficial things that I've gained from this app. So let me share this screen real quick. Share content. Okay, there we go. All right. So these are some of the notes that I've had through these past 18 episodes. One of the first things that we did was kind of go over finding simple shapes in our references. So we'll start with what I like to say is blocking. I've shared this before. If you guys want to, feel free to screenshot this as we go along. Here's a 3-step process that I like to do. 333 is like always this number that sticks out to me. Amateur and perfectum, right? Things that come in threes are nearly perfect. So the first one, one of the first steps is scumble, light, broad strokes. Okay, you can see how I have 3 different tonal values down here, stuff like that. That's pretty much what I focus on. And here is where I would take this image on the right. Let's go ahead and add another layer so I can sketch and kind of keep you guys up. The goal is to be able to get to this overall image. Now, when you look at that image all by itself, it's very daunting. It's super complex. We look at these faces and stuff like that all the time. We get distracted by the fact that they're just simple shapes, or we get distracted by communication with the relation of this image. We're so used to looking at everybody's faces and stuff like that that we forget what it is that we're actually looking at, which is just a simple shape. What I like to do is I will go through and I will pretty much go into my Gaussian blur, which is this guy over here on the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down. And then I will, let's go ahead and just do it real fast. Okay. Take this guy. I'll literally just start to kind of blur it out for me. And what I'm looking for here is to kind of be able to just recognize these simple contrasting shapes. Okay. Now that's still very recognizable to us as that face. You can see as this is what happens whenever you're looking at an image and you're kind of squinting your eyes at it. Whenever you see an artist kind of squinting their eyes at things, that's what they're trying to do, is be able to recognize these as simple geometric shapes as possible. So if we were to stay there, let's go down just a little bit more. Okay. There we go. Now, as you can see, what happens is the smaller the image gets, the more recognizable that is as a face. You come in a little bit further, and you're still seeing just these simple shapes, and it's still recognizable as a face. I'm gonna go just a little bit more to the right. The further away in distance it goes, the clearer that image becomes. This is why I like to have some of these images, like if I'm using this photo as a reference for a tattoo, for example, or even a painting, I like to blur out one of the images. I'll have two images, one very clear and one very blurred out. And I set the blurred one out at a distance almost across the room for me. And it tends to lend a lot of assistance whenever you're sitting there and you're not trying not to freak out because you're gonna mess up some tattoo. Try not to mess up some tattoo. Anyways, so this is kind of what we do. This is what I like to do. What I'm doing here in that process is I'm recognizing all these simple shapes that I've already outlined. Now, if you were to go through and make it linear as far as sketching, you can do this. And you can see where some of these points are intersecting. And that's a good way to map out, so to speak, your proportions. They're kind of like anchor points. We'll call them like anchor points. It's always good to pay attention to these points, especially if you're doing it in such a simple geometric shape. The reason for that is because that's going to allow you, when you go in and you start refining the shape a little bit more, to realize where your proportions might be off and how to correct them, or how to just avoid the issue altogether of doing something that just looks kind of wonky. You can see the more clear we start to go with it, the more defined these edges become. Again, this is the linear process. And this would be more of the brush process, where this is the way that I like to draw quite a bit, with more like a painting, like an oil painting almost even. And it seems to work pretty well for me. I like it because it stays loose. I'm not getting tied down to this very sharp edge that, for me as a tattoo artist, is a clear indicator of that's exactly what you want that image to look like. In oil painting, I've always found that in the process of learning oil painting, I found that it's much easier to kind of push around paint this way too, and start to kind of, more or less terms, sketch on the image into the canvas. And it works out pretty well. So it makes it kind of impermanent. It also allows me mentally to be able to like breathe a little bit more of a sigh of relief, knowing that it doesn't have to be as finished as I think it should be almost immediately. It's a process. It's like everything else that we do. It's a learning curve, and it's also something that you have to build up on top of basic, simple information. All right, so this is what I was talking about. Some of the steps. 2 would be smaller variant amount of intentional strokes or sharper edges if you want to sketch it on there. and then refined introduced charcoal pencil to tight edging. So we're going to go over a few terms today. Edging is definitely going to be one of them. And here are some of the simple shapes that I'm talking about that we're also going to be paying attention to today whenever we approach our sunflowers. Circle, square, triangle, rectangle, oval. Whenever you look at any image, realistic, or if it's something that you're creating, you're always going to find, when you're blurring these shapes out, and even in refined drawings, every single one of these shapes or variations of that shape even the overall image. Okay. Another thing that I've always noticed in some of like human anatomy, especially, are intersecting angles. That's another way to kind of start paying attention to some of the simple proportions. That Star of David, 6-pointed star. So that's one of the first steps. Let's go back to the gallery here. We won't pay attention to the skull. Well, let's go and look at the skull for a real quick reference too. So these are these anchor points that I was talking about. I like to do skulls. I love skulls. I can draw them anytime and be entirely content. I can tattoo them at any time and be entirely content. I could do them every day and never be bored of them ever at all. I like them because they seem pretty simple, but once you sit down to draw them, you start recognizing how difficult they can be as far as making the image appear as if there's depth with these flat angled surfaces. And what I mean by that are like some of the planes that you find in these shapes. So as you can see here in the orange on that blurred out image on the left skull, I have my anchor points. And these are the things that I use as visual cues. I don't necessarily draw them in every time that I draw or start a sketch on a picture, but I always have them in my frame of reference as far as my proportions and where these intersecting lines all meet up and what kind of space there is between them. It helps you maintain a sense of gravity. That was what makes these images, when we're creating this illusion, it's actually what helps us maintain that readable image, which is what we're trying to do. All we're trying to do is take a flat 2D surface and convince the viewer that they're going to be seeing something in dimension. And none of it is real, but it can appear as crystal clear as a photograph sometimes. Some of these drawings that you see with pencil or graphite, or even some of the tattoos, in everything that we're looking at, everything that we get kind of fearful of and get this little bit of anxiety whenever we're getting ready to approach this image, to paint it, to draw it, or to even tattoo it, especially when we're going to tattoo it because it's going to be so permanent. And every single one of those images that you get that anxiety over, this is all you have to start remembering is in this image, and how to relate those shapes to each other in a process that helps you create the overall shape and form. And I've gone over this a couple times, but we'll talk about it again because it's important to know. So on the left-hand side, you have those same shapes that we were talking about, right? Circle, square, triangle, elliptical circle, and the rectangle. And you can see how simple it is to take these two shapes at the bottom, these three shapes at the bottom, stack them on top of each other, and it'll give you that illusion of a cylinder. However, the only reason that that is the way that it looks, the way that it appears, is because of this cast shadow, a light source, and this terminator edge. Without it, we have somewhat of a cylinder. Same thing with the square, same thing with the sphere, same thing with the cone. All simple methods of fundamentals to art. But within these complex images are all of these very simple fundamentals that a lot of us forget, or we don't pay attention to because of that worried, that concept that this is just an image that we can't replicate, that this is something that we can't do. And we get overzealous, we get anxious about it, and we just forget everything, and it kind of goes out the window. But you have to remember that these are some of the most important concepts whenever it comes to replicating these images, and what we're going to go over today with our sunflowers. So 3 important concepts that we're just kind of starting to talk about. Looks like somebody's trying to get in here. And I don't know if I can let them in or not. Let me see. Hang on one second, guys. Admit. There we go. I can. Sweet. Good morning. Hey, what's up?
Hello.
How you doing?
Good. I had some time before going in, so I wanted to join in and see what you were doing.
Nice. Nice. Thanks for joining us.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm going. What's that?
I said if my phone would stay put.
Yeah. I pretty much have mine taped to like something right now. So I'm like keep kind of messing with it and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like I have all these stands and everything, but I don't want to fuss with it. So I was like, just give me the tape. I'll just stick it on there real fast. Like,
Right? The tape is so much easier. Just like
yeah, pretty much, dude. It's always like there's something gratifying about it too, right? So,
right?
mhm. But we are going over some simple concepts, some of the things that you actually covered here in your fundamentals class. And I'm talking about the importance of fundamentals and how easy it is to get lost without them, or without recognizing the fact that all these simple fundamentals are in every image that you see that just blows you away. We're trying to replicate something realistic and make it appear realistic on this flat surface that we always get so flustered over,
Yeah, that's great. I'm so glad.
Yeah.
Well, let's
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah, thanks. But I was just going to go over these concepts and see what you think about it. I think some of the most important, the 3 important concepts that we can take whenever we start approaching any of these images are value, shape, and edge. Right? Value is how light or dark a given color or hue can be, and a lot of us get mixed up. And I was in the same boat where I get mixed up with color. Like I start getting frazzled about it, and a color can be considered a value. Hue and intensity and things like that do come into play, but that's more of like an ambient kind of light source, or like something kind of refracting kind of light and stuff like that. And that goes into something else entirely. But for now, the basics of it can be, color can be viewed as, and it can be argued that it can be a value, so you'd have like a dark red, a medium red, and a light red, right? For example.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's just the point of like, even black and gray has value to it, or has hue to it, because you can have like
Mhm.
warm grays and cool grays. You can have like some black and gray sets are on the cooler side, some black and gray sets are on the warmer side. So it's kind of like just having that there. So it's just understanding that no matter what color it is, you can, as long as you just black and gray it out, it's a value. And that's all that is the
Mhm.
fundamental of it.
Yep. Yep. And that's what we'll do with these sunflowers here in a little bit, because I have them in color, and then I'm going to show how to put them into that value scale.
Flowers.
Yeah, we're going to do some flowers today. No skulls today, just flowers. Maybe we'll throw a skull with the flowers. How about that?
Yeah, right in the center.
Yeah, right in the center, just boom. The second one that I always focus on is shape, the element of art that is two-dimensional, flat, and limited in height and width. Those, again, like I said, when you take a three-dimensional image and you start relating the simple flat shapes that are actually in it, it helps you with a lot of different things. One of them, the major one, is going to be proportion. The other one is going to be, again, getting your mind wrapped around the fact that you're not looking at a dimensional object. You're actually looking at some simple geometric shapes that are underlying in the composition or underlying in the reference material, right? And that helps me whenever it comes to being able to capture the essence of a picture, or the character of a picture, or the way it sits inside of its environment, right? So the shapes, and it's also going to help you create these anchor points whenever these shapes intersect with each other. And they all intersect with each other. Everything is intersecting angles.
All the time.
All the time. I can't say it enough. Triangles, triangles, triangles. Everywhere. And patterns, 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 right?
Yep.
The third one is going to be edge. Edge is a transition between two shapes of color or value. Color and composition usually are what catches the viewer, but without edges, soft or hard, there would be no clarity. Now, what I mean by that is that what we as tattoo artists or illustrators try to do is whenever we're writing a letter, which is kind of unheard of anymore, but you've learned how to cursive write, you've learned how to write your alphabet, and we associate those lines with communication because of that. The A makes an A sound or an ah sound or ah sound, and like we get so disassociated with the idea that in our artwork, in the real world, there are no hard lines. There's only sharp edges or soft edges. The sharper edges are going to pull your eye and make you believe that something is closer in perspective, or it's going to help establish a point of interest or a focal point. The softer edges or more blurred out edges are going to make your eye perceive and your mind perceive that you're actually staring off into a distance or something is out of focus. That can help create a lot of field of depth, especially whenever you're talking about what Kier's been covering recently, which is like perspective drawings, which you have been using a lot of sharp edges and stuff like that, or line work to demonstrate that. But I think it's important in that kind of demonstration and that kind of artwork too, like with cityscapes and such. But when you're painting it, it's an entirely different beast. There still are those sharper edges versus line work, right? So, but you get this perception that there are lines and stuff like that in it. So I tend to repeat myself quite a bit, but we'll go from here. So hopefully that makes a lot of sense to everybody. And we'll start carrying on. So I have some sunflowers here. Yep, I got some sunflowers here for everybody. So let's go ahead and start. We'll duplicate this image. And I'm going to show you the first couple steps in making this image and being able to draw it. So we'll go to the Gaussian blur. Actually, first thing we'll do is drop the saturation out of it. Let's go ahead and drop the saturation out of it. Now, there's some things that I've learned from Kier and Jason about making this pop out a little bit more. We're going to go to our curves, and we're going to bump the contrast up a little bit more. And you can see what happens is your eyes starts relaxing. Your eyes start relaxing almost immediately, and you're able to see how simple some of these shapes in this image really are. And what I want to do is I want to focus on simplifying all those mid-tone ranges, the black, the darkest light, the darkest value, the medium value, and the light value. And you can see here is a pretty good spot where that middle flower is contoured with that medium range of value and the behind it to the top left. The leaves are pretty separate from the rest of the image. The centers, of course, are very dark. Those are obvious. And you can see also here that mid to darker range value on the left-hand side flower is, again, contouring that middle, those two middle flowers. So that's a pretty good spot for me right there. And I'm going to next step, take my Gaussian blur, and I'm going to start blurring this image out a little bit for myself. I'm gonna go kind of slow. What I'm trying to do is start giving my eye that area where I start to recognize the image still as flowers, but start paying attention to those simple shapes, geometric shapes. And what I'm doing is I'm paying attention to those mid-tones and the dark tones, the darkest tone, more than anything else. And I'm still paying attention to those negative areas too, like in the middle two flowers up on the top left-hand side of the middle flower and on the bottom middle, that little white negative area against the vase and against that left flower. So that's about right there for me. You can literally go in and use your color selection tool. Hope I'm saying these right. And use this for your value study, your value samples, I'm sorry. What the heck is going on here? Why would I do that? Oh, it's invisible, that's fine. We'll go dark to light. Okay. Up.
What is the up, my friend?
It's just some simple drawings today, man.
You got some
You Reiki that flower.
Yeah, I got some flowers today. We're gonna put a skull in it though. You'll see.
Yay! Oh.
We're gonna do some flowers, but we'll do a skull with it for sure. But
You know what's cool, guys? You know
what's that?
cool?
What's that?
So I grew up and I started oil painting.
All right. Let's see what you got. Look at that. All right. Oh, hold on. Let me see if I can share your screen. Hold on one second. Let me get off of this one.
And
That
you
looks
know
great,
who
man.
inspired me to do this?
Who's that?
He's this guy I met out in Illinois. I mean, he's kind of cool, but like he's still kind of weird. But like, yeah, playing around with it. I've only had like 2 hours to work on it so far, so I'm just kind of blocking in tones.
That looks great, dude. I'm trying to spotlight you, but I can't do it on my phone. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'll just keep talking, and my video will keep popping up.
There you go.
But yeah, small little panel, you know, but it's there.
Is that a wood panel?
Yes.
Let's see. Is it a like masonite?
Yeah, let me pull it up.
Yeah.
Throw out all the labels. I got 3 of them. And I got one more that's still wrapped, but this one's a weird size. It is DaVinci Pro Panels, Coarse Texture Surface Grips Media, resist grip gesso panel.
Nice.
Coarse texture finish, grips and hangs on to acrylics, acoustics, oils, colored pencils, oil pastels, soft pastels, and multimedia. Build layers of media without going off. It's acid free. It's great for colored pencils, chalks, pastels, warp resistant, kiln dried. And I mean, it is made of, it looks like it's masonite mounted on a wood frame. And then coated with like some kind, I don't know if they mix sand in with it or what, but
Yeah, that I think they do. I think there's some kind of tooth put into it, right? Like the sand helps provide that tooth, so it's not
right.
as slick as it would be like on a regular piece of masonite wood.
Correct.
Yeah, so it provides a little bit of a tooth, so it catches some of the paint and it like holds on to the surface and such. You know, so that's awesome.
Honestly, I am absolutely loving painting on that.
Let's see it again, dude, and let's walk through the process a little bit if you don't mind.
All right, let me feed my cat real quick.
Okay.
She's hungry, and if I don't do this, she's gonna get into my oil painting setup, and that's not good for anyone.
Negative, man. This is great. I'm glad you guys could join. Thanks so much for hopping in.
And then I'll show you my my hobo studio.
All right.
I call it the hobo studio because I basically just kind of like throw everything together. I'm not even really using a whole lot of brushes I should be using for this, but I'm making it work.
Well, let's hear the kind of brushes that you are using.
So I'm using some, there you go, babe. Now, be a good girl. I'm using some stiffer organic bristles that are actually meant more for smaller detailed acrylics than anything else.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
I like them because I'm finding that with the amount of medium that I'm mixing in with it, it's lending itself to have a stronger pigment flow. All right, so okay, so got some nice Lucas Studio oils, some Gamblin. This is the gel medium that I've been using instead of liquid, and I'm absolutely in love with it.
It's great, isn't it?
Yeah, some Rembrandt oils. Lucas, I think this is Rembrandt, and I've got like a ton more too. Obviously, you have to have your palette knives. These were a couple of watercolor brushes I was trying out just to like really get some of that nice detail in there for like sharper, crisper edges. Absolutely love that. And I find that when you use a lot of the gel medium mixed in with your oil, you can really get some nice crispy edges, like right along there at the bottom where those the top of the mandala, not mandala,
medulla oblongata.
What's the word I'm looking for?
Maxilla?
Mandible or mandible.
Mandible, yeah. The mandible, man.
Yeah, getting right up against that nice edge with a lot of those darker tones. And it's a shame that the lighting in here kind of sucks because, well, that's a little better. Because there are like several, like actually just like literally one shade lighter spots in this whole mouth area. I think you can see them a little bit better now.
Yep. Yeah, there you go. There's those like the dark, you have a mid-tone and you have light tone. And it's just the suggested shape.
Right.
And the relation that they are corresponding with each other that help create that image of a recognizable skull.
So this is the brush that I was talking about. It's Esconda. Versatile Barcelona. I don't know. It's like it's number 8, but it's got some really, really funky, like organic type bristles. it's pretty stiff, but it's still very soft. Right? It's got a lot of snap, and I really like that. But because it's got soft organic bristles, it's picking up that paint like there's no tomorrow. So I can lay that down and just really lay in a nice, solid, smooth, opaque layer. Now
Nice.
You've got your small bristle brushes. You've got some larger filberts. I've got even bigger filberts. I've got some for smoothing and blending. I've got some like smaller, like synthetic filberts that are pretty stiff. I've got some like squared off, bristle brushes.
See that one's I would love that one.
Some smaller round synthetics that I use for acrylics and watercolors. This one's super soft. This is a synthetic watercolor brush from Premiere. And this one's okay. I'll block in some stuff with this, but this has been my go-to.
There you go.
I find I actually like working with this one more than the squared off bristle.
Okay.
I find that this one blends a little bit better, and it allows me to just kind of like feather things in a little bit more. As opposed to this guy, which is like a very rough, chunky, very like textured. You can see the bristle marks.
Oh yeah.
I would use this more for impasto painting as opposed to something a little bit more refined.
Gotcha.
Got my handy dandy homemade brush cleaner with some Gamsol in there.
Yep. So
Right?
is that the odor free? Is that the odor free kind of like?
And then a piece of like copper, 6-gauge copper wire that I like basically just twisted around and threw it inside an old jam jar.
Okay. For your brush holder.
Right. Well, for my solvent, so that way, as I'm running the bristles across that, each ridge is picking it up and cleaning those bristles out as I go across them.
Yeah, that's a pretty ingenious way to solve the fact that you don't have to have those pre-made rinsing bottles or jars.
No, it cost me a couple of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches,
which I love, man. That's awesome.
Right?
Yeah.
I was like, I can use these for other things.
Yeah, it's like a win-win. That's a win-win
and,
right there.
I think the copper wire at Home Depot was $4.
Awesome.
So I mean, win-win right there. And then obviously the cost of the Gamsol.
Right.
And I mean, as you can tell, I've got a lot of brushes I can use. Most of them are just too big for this painting, so I'm staying pretty small. So
are you considering that when you're approaching this painting in particular, it's more for a study for sure for you, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's looking great already though. So are you trying to have it refined before you start any of the glazing process? Are you concerned with glazing at this point in time? Or are you just trying to get the shapes and stuff like that and start working with the paint again?
I've already started glazing a little bit.
Okay.
So I had like an hour and a half, 2 hours the other night to work on it a little bit. And that was Sunday night. And I was kind of bored. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to start working on this shit. So got set up, started working on it. And
it looks great, dude.
Worked on it until like 2:30. And I was looking at it yesterday, and a lot of the spots that I was looking at were already pretty dry. They're not going to be like completely dry, but they were dry enough that I could go back over them with more oil, layer over top of them, and not pick up what was underneath it.
Yeah, totally. And did you start this process with a really thin paint to thinner ratio, or did you go on pretty heavy?
I went in pretty heavy.
Awesome.
I mean, I didn't, just like, chunk it in, but, you go with paint. And if you need a little bit of a thinner spot, or if you're not roughing something in where you need precision, You add in some of that gel medium, get some of that precision in there. If you're going through and you're just kind of like blending together and moving paint around, cool.
Mhm.
You can go with something a little bit more loose, and you can go straight paint to panel, and you can just put it down and move it around. I was just trying to find shapes and forms and focus on getting paint down first. As you can tell, this is an area that I just kind of roughed in before I wrapped up last night, and there's not even like a glare when the light hits it or anything. So that's probably dry enough for me to go back over. That's probably dry enough for me to go back over. What was that?
Oh, no, I wasn't talking to you. I'm sorry. I was talking to Lena.
Oh,
So I recognize something. I seen something. I'm sorry. I'm observing that you have like some purple marks on the
some
canvas
blue,
itself.
yeah.
Is that from did you use a carbon stencil for that?
Yes. I
Okay.
used the Syrah transfer paper, the blue Syrah transfer paper.
Okay.
Once again, it's a study. It's me. This is my first oil painting in like 20 years.
Nice,
So
man.
I'm just kind of going into it and, marking down basic shapes. Where are my eye holes? Where's my nostril socket? Where do I want the background to be? Where do I want the jaw to be? That kind of stuff. Not really like getting super technical with it.
Yep.
But yeah, there's a little bit of, you can still see up at the top of the cranium where I was just like, you know what, we're going to do some dots because it's bone, it's pitted. We'll bring this like skull line all the way up. Cool. And then, whatever else.
Man, I'll be honest with you. The way it looks now, it has a lot of potential for the focal point to be the mandible, the top row of where the sockets and the teeth are, and that nasal cavity. And the way it's fading up and then into that really strong light source, man, that would be pretty cool. Because it sounds like you're ready to start defining everything on it, like make it all real tight, right?
Well, I mean, I still have like a third of it I have to block in.
Yeah.
But
It looks killer. That looks killer so far, man. I love it, dude. Good job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yay, you're proud of me.
Yeah, dude, it looks great. I really like the way you're saying that you're like focusing on just those simple shapes and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I think we get so caught up in trying to capture this depth right away that we forget our proportions. We forget what it is that we're looking at. We pay so much attention to technical aspects of painting or application sometimes that we lose the overall purpose of creating that image, which is it's fun. You know what I mean? First of all, and then secondly is to be able to make a translatable image so the viewer can read it.
Right.
Yeah.
And I try to get all of my expressiveness out in my work paintings. I try not, when I have a client that comes in that's looking for something, they're usually looking for something pretty specific. You're not really looking for me to be a bit more expressive with everything. That's where I'm going to throw this emotion or whatever in here. No, they're usually looking for something pretty specific. So I try to stick within that. By working in a different medium, whether it's watercolors, acrylics, oils, none of that matters. Doesn't matter what you work in. Get your expression out in that, right? That's what I generally try to do and try to focus on. So like all of the artwork that I produce, unless it's commission based, it's for me. It's not for anyone else. So at the end of the day, I don't even think most people are ever going to see half of the stuff I paint, just because it's not for anyone else. It's for me. It's because I wanted to get better at color. I wanted to get better at texture. I wanted to do this so I could understand form and value more. I wanted to do this so I could paint perspective better. I wanted to do this so I could understand focus better. It's not the stuff I paint and the artwork I create 90% of the time is not for anyone else. And in fact, believe it or not, I've only ever been commissioned for 2 paintings in my entire life.
Wow.
So
That's awesome, dude. That's
I'm
good
not
to
saying
hear.
I haven't sold paintings before,
Right.
you know.
But somebody specifically saying, I want you to create this image for me because I like your stuff. Yeah.
They said, I want you to make a painting for me specifically. You know, I like the way that you do things. I like the way that, you know, I like the way that you render your subject matter. I like, you know, the way that you create and what you create. So I want you to make me a painting. I actually had someone in the springtime hit me up. They were like, yo, I want to commission you for a big ass painting. And I'm like, all right, what's big ass, right? What's big, right? Because big to me is the side of a building. That's
big. that'd be big to me too. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. That to me is big. And she's like, well, I'm thinking like 3 foot by 5 foot. I'm like, all right, how about we do 2.5 by 5? Right? Good proportion. It's very simple proportion. You know, it's nothing crazy. I've always liked those taller than wide kind of formats as well. I think they're far more eye-catching.
Yeah, they can be for sure. Especially if you use the right subject matter and the right composition, it can be really aesthetically pleasing for sure.
Yeah, and you know, I was telling them, I'm like, listen, you know, that's going to be insanely expensive, right? And she's like, yeah, it's fine. We'll pay you whatever you want.
Dang, there you go. Yeah, score.
I still haven't even started it, by the way.
Professional procrastination, man. Wins every time.
All the time.
Yeah.
But I always work the best under pressure.
There you go. See, I feel the same way sometimes, man. I feel the same way. Like I can sit down and really try to plot something out, plan it out and stuff like that. But for me, I find that, and a lot of people will say that this is wrong or this, they would never approach it the same way. And that's fine. Because I do envy the people that can sit down and create something like 3 weeks before it's even due. You know what I mean? I like that idea. But when I sit down to do it 3 weeks beforehand, at the end of it, I'm going to be like, I'm just going to do another one. And I like the one that I did at the last minute better than the one that I did like 3 weeks ago. Yeah, it's crazy. And it's different for everybody, but I feel the same way, Jason. I think we relate in that aspect for sure. One of the many, but yeah, that's definitely the case for me too.
Well, I know that. So I get so caught up in caring about what I produce that when I have that deadline, and that deadline is in 48 hours, maybe it's 72 hours, who knows, right? I know that I'm forced to sit back and rely more on what I know and, you know, what I've been practicing for years and years and years. And I'm not overthinking things. I'm just letting things happen.
Right.
And that's why I think I tend to like my process a little bit better than getting it done 3 weeks in advance. You know, I was always the guy that was like, you know, even in school, it was like, when is the paper due? By midnight on this day, I would have it in by 11:30 on that day.
Likewise.
Right? It wouldn't be any earlier than that because we all have a lot of shit going on in life.
Absolutely, man.
And if we don't have a ton of stuff going on and we find ourselves sitting back playing video games all the time or, you know, doing whatever else we decide to do, how is that productive? How is that improving ourselves, let alone what we're creating? And I've never met an artist on the face of the earth that does not want to improve what they do.
Yeah. I've met a few people that think that they know everything, and then there's no purpose for them even having to attempt to try to do anything else. You know what I mean? Because like, I got it. It's all good. This is how I make my money and stuff, and this is just what I do. I'm like, okay, that's cool, dude. Good for you, but that's not me. And like,
I don't really like to associate with people like that.
Likewise, same thing here. Yeah, likewise, man. And I think that it depends on what it is that you're doing. You know what I mean? Like there are some circumstances that keep you busy and there's nothing you can do about it, right? Like you have to be able to take care of those things, and some things take the side seat or the back step because of it, or the back burner or whatever it is because of it. But there are sometimes as artists, especially, that we distract or avoid ourselves completely by putting those things in the way, and like we allow them to take space and time away from us rather than it actually being a necessity to do. So I think it's important to differentiate sometimes. And that can be a very personal journey because not everybody feels the same way about themselves that you do, and it creates that reality, that perspective for you that makes it seem like, oh, I'm just going to go ahead and, continue playing video games or something like that. Like, if that's your thing, that's your thing. I know for me, I found that it was a distraction that I allowed myself to have more than anything else. You know what I mean? And because I could play video games and it does take everything off my mind, and that's all I do is focus on that. It's a distraction. I found it to be a distraction for myself. So I've stopped playing video games. I haven't played video games since January, man. It's pretty crazy. So it's been pretty awesome. And I've been keeping myself busy with, growing in art and stuff like that, dude, and reaching out to people. It's been pretty rad.
My
So, yeah,
Xbox Gold Live subscription expired 6 years ago.
Wow.
I haven't touched any kind of console game since then.
Wow, dude. That's awesome.
I looked at what I was able to produce, my production methods using, everything else. And I was still getting my tattoos drawn in advance so that everything was ready when time showed up. I didn't produce a single even sketch for myself that year. Not even a sketch. I didn't even take the time to do it 30. It was just all about the video game.
Yep. And you find yourself like searching for subject matter. You find yourself searching for the ability to be able to draw something even. You know what I mean? You're so distracted by all that other junk. Yeah. Well, that's awesome, dude. That's awesome that it's been 6 years, man. It's crazy how we're talking about it like it's like
I'm
like
6
a
years
drug.
video game free.
6 years video game sober.
I mean,
we'll have
don't
to-
get me wrong. They have their place, right? They have their place.
Mhm.
They are very beneficial to release aggression if you're having a shitty day and you feel like punching someone in the face, right? Go play that first-person shooter and shoot some people.
Yeah,
Go
pew
for
pew.
it. Go shoot people in the game. Don't shoot people in real life.
Yeah. Because at least you can start all over.
Right. There
Yeah,
is
that's
no
cool.
respawning in real life.
No, I agree, man. Yep. Let's see, what time is it? 10:05. Okay, well, this has been a lot of fun, and it looks like I'm cutting myself short with some time. We will get back into this drawing. You guys have seen some of the method and stuff like that. I'm gonna have to call it short because I do have an appointment coming in pretty soon. But Jason, why don't you go ahead and give us a shout out and let us know how to get a hold of you and stuff like that too.
Cool. So my name is Jason Leeser. I'm currently doing the dishes, so I apologize for that. You can find me on Sundays at 1 p.m. on the Reinventing the Tattoo app and community. I host the 1 p.m. Sunday afternoon drawing sessions for Reinventing the Tattoo. Also, side note, special event coming up this coming Sunday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Mountain Time. I have a live interview with Chris Dunn of Deadly Tattoos in Canada. I've talked to Chris a couple of times, and we always have really great conversations. I'm going to be talking to him and picking his brain about his bold, illustrative style and, what path he's taken to get to be where he is as far as his art career is concerned. So make sure that, you don't miss that, because that's going to be absolutely awesome. But
That sounds awesome, dude. I'll definitely tune in for that.
And, if you're not busy, if you don't have too much going on.
Video games and all.
Yeah, take a break from leveling up on that first person shooter again.
I got my weapons all gold, man.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But thank you very much, Ricardo, for allowing me to jump in here and talk and say hi. I'm really looking forward to coming out and seeing you in January. Have you given any thoughts to doing the thing up at Red Tree, or like live art jam up at Red Tree coming up in February?
What? I don't think I heard of that. I don't think I heard anything about that. That sounds interesting though.
Yeah, it's like I think they're going to be doing like a live art jam with some seminars and stuff up at the Red Tree Gallery in True Tube's headquarters.
Okay.
But that's like a great little midpoint.
Hey guys, how's it going, Jason? I think that's
Hey.
the first week of February. If you guys plan on going, I'm thinking about going down too.
Yeah, I think that would be absolutely awesome.
Cool.
Where's it at? What state is that in?
Columbus,
Ohio.
Ohio.
Okay, yeah, it is kind of in between us, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
My friend Dante
Yeah, okay.
got a job I think it was like last July, working with Derb up at the Red Tree Gallery. And I've been trying to get out there to go and see him, just say hi. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe if I head out there in February, man, I think that would be absolutely awesome. We could get together and do some oil painting.
Yeah, I like that idea. I think it'd be killer. Maybe we'll both get that like little travel pack thing together, and then we can, maybe
My
swap some
noggin's
paintings and stuff.
already started going on it, man. Like I have already started planning out like, okay, well, if I do this, how big can I make this? And what can I do with this? I've got some plans.
Nice, dude.
Don't
Nice.
be surprised if I show up and I'm like, did you bring your oils? Because I brought you a gift.
Sweet. You're always making me happy, man. That's awesome, dude. Thank you. That's
I
fucking
like
great.
to make things for people.
Yeah. It's cool, dude. It feels good, right?
It does. Whether it's a work of art or like something practical for them, I enjoy making things for people. So
Yeah. Well, cool, Jason. Thank you so much for joining, and thank you for showing us that painting, man. That thing is awesome, dude. Killer start. It's solid, dude, for not painting for that long, and then like you jumping right back into it like that. That's fantastic. I can't wait to see the progress of it, and like pick your brain about like the step-by-step process that you went with and stuff too. So that'll be fun. But
I might go live later this evening once I get done with work and do some oil painting live.
Okay, I'll try to join you.
Cool. I think that would be awesome.
Yeah, I have an appointment coming in pretty soon, and then I have a consult a little bit later on this evening, and then I should be free after that. So I'm down, man. I got my stuff set up here at the shop for some oils and stuff, so we can do it. It'll be great.
Hell yeah, man.
Cool. But yeah, everybody, thank you so much for joining. Jason, again, thank you for jumping in. Thank you, Kier, for jumping in. Lauren, I appreciate your help so much. And it's always a pleasure. My name is Ricardo Sturdivant. Make sure and join us next week at 10 a.m. Eastern for another episode of Drawing Large to Small. We'll actually go over the drawing of the sunflowers and stuff, but you guys saw a step-by-step process as far as initiating the beginning of the steps to take in order to simplify images and focus on the shapes that are inside these simple, basic geometric shapes that are inside of these dimensional images, quote unquote dimensional images, which is just, it's all an illusion. It's pretty wild. But make sure and join us next week. You can find me on Instagram at Candor Tattoo and on the Reinventing the Tattoo app under Ricardo Sturdivant. And thank you, Guy Atchison and Gabe Ripley, for making all of this possible. Peace.